Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Market Forecast, brought to you by Options University. This is Butch Shorex, Monday, September 8th, 2014. Access to this video is for educational and informational purposes only. Nothing contained in this video, website, or promotional material constitutes a promotion, recommendation, solicitation, or offer of any particular investment security or transaction. Options University provides educational services that are meant to teach you the risks and rewards of trading stocks and options. We're not a service that tells you what to trade. We're not implying or guaranteeing any profit. And as always, do not trade with money that you cannot afford to lose. Taking a look at the last week, looking at the Dow, looking at the NASDAQ, looking at the S&P 500, looking at the Russell 2000, we see that we've got nothing but positive numbers except for the Russell, which lagged a little bit during this last week. Percentage changes for the week out of Dow are up 0.2%. Looking at year to date, up 3.4% on the Dow. NASDAQ up 0.1%. Year to date percentage up 9.7%. S&P up 0.2%. So we had a week that was relatively flat in the overall market. But looking at year to date, S&P up 8.6% for the year, and we're just barely coming into the best 6 months of the year, which takes place after October 1st. Russell 2000 was down a bit for the week, down 0.4%, but still in positive numbers for the year at 0.6%. So we had a bit of a flat week in the market, but we certainly have had quite of a year. As we look at what economic announcements and events are taking place during the last week and during the next coming week, we see very little taking place on Monday. In fact, nothing to talk about. Looking at Tuesday, again, not a whole lot of going on. We got Goldman store sales coming out 7:45 on Tuesday, not of big consequence. Have wholesale trade coming out at 10 o'clock on Wednesday. Thursday, of course, at 8:30, we have jobless claims, which comes out every Thursday morning, telling us about the prior week. And then Friday is our big day for the week. We've got retail sales at 8:30, import and export prices at 8:30, consumer sentiment at 9:55, and then finally business inventories at 10 o'clock. So Friday's the day of the week where we've actually got information that could influence this overall market. Looking at the SPX for the week, what do we have? Well, last couple of weeks, we've just been at the top of the market. Look at that. Going sideways, going absolutely nowhere. Sideways trading, trying to build more steam to go higher. But look at this close, the highest close we've ever had in the S&P at 2007.71. What's our overall trend? Well, you can only say that our trend is up as it continues with this Fed influenced market. Support by the Fed has certainly been good for this market. Looking at the last 5 days, we see that we're just sitting here. We're building up a lot of resistance, or we're building up a lot of support, depending on which way we're approaching it from. But look at that finish on Friday, which really gives you a lot of information about how they really feel about this market as it continues on its upward trend. Looking at the Dow, we got exactly the same thing. Got a sideways trend taking place. Very nice high movement out of the Dow on Friday, but you notice that we had a higher high earlier in the month of July. So market well positioned and holding its own, showing us what happens when you don't fight the Fed. Looking at the NASDAQ, had a little bit of a tail off in the week, but again, we had this sideways move. A little more volatility out of the NASDAQ than we saw out of the others. Previous high took place on Wednesday, where we reached a high for the NASDAQ, but we see that a Friday again, nice strong day out of it, as we basically ended where the market started. So a flat week out of the market, but nonetheless, what we've got is we're building up that position for the next move up. Remember, when we enter October, we enter the best 6 months of the year in the market, and we should see things do what that general cycle takes. We're finishing up the worst 6 months of the market, and it certainly was a nice run this summer as the market continued up on low volume volume. Looking at the Russell 2000, our laggard, we see that it had a nice move up, going sideways, but as it ended the week, it did not show a great deal of strength as we ended basically where a little bit below where we started. So a little bit of weakness out of the Russell, but nothing to talk about out of our small stock index. And finally, the VIX spends its time down here around the 12 level, not showing us any great amount of fear taking place in the market at this time. Our counter indicator is showing us that not any great fear, and therefore you have to use your information to influence how you trade your options with that kind of volatility. What did the bonds do this week? Well, we came down. We're now sitting on our 30-day moving average off that high that we had last week. And so we see that we've pulled back, and we'll see whether this continues down a little bit further. But money came out of the bond market and into the stock market, and that's exactly what happens as the market will continue up higher. All right, looking at gold, there's been very little interest in gold or silver, really underperformed. Will continue to underperform as long as there's no great fear in the market. So gold basically sitting right there on some of its previous 3-month lows. And looking at the financials, look very much like the two major indexes and very close to its highs as we see this move up. And remember, we're a bit away from the 30-day moving average. Any kind of a pullback in this kind of market, whether it be in your indexes or whether it be in your financials, as we come into the traditional best 6 months of the year, any kind of pullback certainly gives us an opportunity to enter the market with new positions for either the short term or the long term. Remember, you always want to be able to determine at what point do I no longer want to own this. Oil. Sitting at the lows of the last 3 months, as oil has lost some of its glamour. That we won't see this move up until we see some of the other things lose interest in. All right. So with that fact, for those of you that are gold members, stick around. We'll look at our stocks to watch. For the rest of you, thank you very much for being here. This is Market Forecast brought to you by Options University. It's Monday, September 8th, 2014. Thank you for being here. We'll talk to you next Monday. Flat week out of the market and all-time highs out of the S&P.